A very good morning. The Japanese yen has gained a lot of weakness overnight, which caused EURUSD to sell off in towards the downside and the dollar index to finally fulfill the overall task which we have laid it out for, and that is push up higher from this overall area of demand after seeing the fractal break of structure, which I wanted last week. So the overall dollar index bias is playing out beautifully so far, and I'm looking for the dollar index to continue its overall leg up higher. But guys, let's start with EURUSD first of all. So EURUSD has been selling off. As you know, I have been in a sell already since last Tuesday, so for around 6 to 7 days. The position overall is this one over here. I clearly stated back then that I was in a position from the overall liquidity high, and so far it's been running beautifully around 5.25 lots in, which is around $3,000 currently in profit. Now, this is taken on a challenge account, so the challenge account is around 3% up, and I've limited my risk to around $400/$500. Now, who knows, maybe because I'm now sharing the screenshot, your USD is just going to tank back up or shoot back up in towards the upside. But so far, so good, and I like the overall price action that we are seeing here from EURUSD. So, Fabio, why are you actually still looking for that overall short position? Now, for me, it's extremely straightforward. What I'm looking for here is after the break of structure that took place here, because look, overall the market structure is bullish, right? We see a push up, we see a push down, we see a push up, we see a push down, we see a push up. Now, when do you expect the next push up in towards the upside to happen? Well, previously this push in towards the highs, where did it happen from? What happened after grabbing massive slash major liquidity underneath the overall bump in the road, which took place within this overall impulse in towards the highs. Now, once again, I look at this overall impulse in towards the highs, and I then look for the major liquidity lows. Now, for me, the major liquidity lows are this one over here and this one over here. Now, this for me is not a liquidity low because, again, it's just simply part of the ascending lows that we have here, okay? It's not like a massive low that got formed. For me, it's just part of the overall ascending lows. So when I look at liquidating lows, I just want this very first low here to get liquidated, and therefore I want your USD to sell off further. Now, furthermore, the difference between, or what I want to ultimately just simply see, is the fractal structure fulfill as well its overall, let's say, move. Because for now, this here is the overall supply zone that is in control, fractal high, fractal low. So the daily fractal structure is bearish as well. Furthermore, if we draw in the premium versus discount tool, we can also see here that the market is still trading, or when we took the overall, let's say, short position, that we took it from, let's say, premium pricing. So we're trying to short this back down towards these two major liquidity lows, and then from there, maybe we can look for a bigger bounce overall within the price action of EURUSD. Now, EURUSD, again, looking here at the current price action, I'm just going to remove the premium versus discount tool and the impulsive phase here. We have here the impulsive 4-hour phase, okay? So this is the strong 4-hour impulse that we had in towards the downside. Now, again, within this impulse, what do we identify? We identify here the bump in the road. Now, the bump in the road, that for me is liquidity. And once that liquidity gets taken, I'm happy to look for a short position. We can see that we got ascending correction with a 1 high, a 2nd high, and a 3rd high in towards that liquidity high. So again, if you kind of like remove the black lines and just make it nice and simple for you, we had 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then we get the overall sell-off in towards the downside, after which now currently we've been selling off more and more. So I'm looking for this overall price action to continue, and I want to see this order flow that we have on the 4-hour time frame continue to push your USD down lower. Now, we've been here before. We're currently trading still within this range, so who knows, we can just shoot back up again. I'm not really too bothered, but I want to see the overall kind of like order flow continuing towards the downside here, because previously this was supply. Now again here, buy for the sell here, that has been in control, and now I'm just simply looking for, again, this overall, let's say, buy for the sell approximately here, just to continue to push the market down further in towards the lows. Now, the reason, again, in addition to that, why I'm looking for that EURUSD downside is because the dollar index looks good to continue pushing up higher. Now, overnight, it opened up with a gap, which is not always favorable because often these gaps will get filled. However, we have seen in the past that it is not always the case. If we look at, for example, over here, we can see that the entire gap did not get filled up, and we did sell off massively in towards the downside. Again, also over here, we opened up with a gap. We didn't fill the gap fully, and we sold off in towards the downside. And also over here, we opened with a gap and we didn't fit it and we sold off in towards the downside. So who knows? Again, what happened over here is we opened with a gap up and we could just continue pushing in towards the upside. Obviously, it would be more favorable to take that. So I'm still looking that there is potential to fill this gap before, for example, continuing its overall leg up higher. So do keep that in mind. But what I do like is the overall analysis that we had. Again, overall impulsing towards the highs. Here we have the overall bump in the road, which acts as liquidity. Liquidity gets taken, market structure shift here on the black line, which I was waiting for all of last week, demand zone, and then we shoot up. So again, ultimately, a relatively simple setup that we have been discussing all week last week. So congratulations if you were able to capitalize on that. And now for the dollar index, I'm looking for it to continue its route into 99.074, if I'm correct. That is this black line over here. Yes, 99.074, which is kind of like the very first high of all of these descending highs. So I'm looking for that to get taken out this week. And it would be lovely if we could see a further push in towards the highs there on the dollar, which would then push EURUSD further down towards my overall target. And then in addition to that, if the momentum sustains and this demand zone is then in control, then we can look for more longs in towards this NFP high of the 1st of August, which is for me also still kind of like a weak high. And then the overall descending channel that we have here with the one low, the second low, and then the fake out on the second low, that kind of like target fulfillment could kind of like come into fruition. But let's see what today does. Again, what could happen is now in the London session that the dollar gets sold, because last night on the Japanese or on the Asian session, the Asians start buying the dollar as kind of like the safe haven because they doubt the safety or the political or the, let's say, monetary policy that this new Japanese prime minister will implement. But who knows, maybe it's not as bad as everybody thinks, and we could see kind of like a correction happen again on the dollar, because now this move is mainly fundamental in towards the upside. But obviously it also aligned pretty well with the overall technicals. So I am looking for this upside move, but I am also being a little bit cautious because, yeah, it's kind of like, again, a news impulse in towards the highs, which is never very favorable. You just want it to be normal price action to push the market up higher. But overall, it does align beautifully with the overall price action and technical analysis that we were looking to trade. So yeah, let's see if it does continue up higher. It would, yeah, or at least we are positioned. Let me put it that way. So now you guys ask me then, okay, Fabio, how can we then position ourselves in these kind of like moves? Well, GBPUSD, for example, is now pushing up higher. Looking at GBPUSD, I'm still looking for a potential further downside push. This here is currently the overall, let's say, supply zone that is in control. Looking at GBPUSD from a higher time frame perspective, so from the daily time frame, let me just go into the daily real quick. You can see here that the daily had, let's say, this uptrend, then downtrend. So this is now the high, this is now the low, and then this here is your Fibonacci. So you retrace back up into premium pricing, you take out the overall liquidity high here, and since then we've been following the daily fractals in towards the downside. So that means here, supply here in control, and now once again here, supply zone in control. So we're now stalling within this overall daily supply zone, and from this daily supply zone, I'm favoring an overall short position to the downside. However, the price action that we've been seeing here on GBPUSD has been extremely consolidative. We're kind of stuck within this overall box here, and I'm waiting for price action to do something. It's not the most favorable price action to give us those shorts, because we can see here you kind of have like this descending highs, and that's never the best sign. You would have preferably seen, let's say, this high liquidate this high, so push up and then a strong push down, because then you would have had a massively strong area of supply, because now this supply zone over here, that is now just simply built on descending highs, which is not very favorable for an area of supply. So it could sell off, but it's not definitely or really a position that I'm currently looking to trade at the moment, just because, one, it's very consolidative, the price action that we're seeing here, and two, the overall supply zone here is built on what? On descending highs. Therefore, I'm currently staying out of GBPUSD, and I'll wait until further price development, as it's just not ideal to trade at the moment, in my personal opinion. But let's see what price does here. We do have a strong supply zone over here. So this is a strong supply zone because this did liquidate the overall high here to the left that it had, and we've broken market structure towards the downside overnight. So that now means that here we have kind of like the little bump in the road of the pullback. That gets taken out, push into supply, and then we could look for a short on the 50-minute time frame if you then get the 50-minute change of character. So that's how you can then potentially capitalize on a move in towards the downside there on GBPUSD. Going into AUDUSD, we can see that AU has rocketed up higher. looking now at the 4-hour time frame, we can see that the 4-hour is still kind of relatively bullish in line with the daily. So remember what I mentioned about the daily time frame here on AUDUSD. We have the impulse up, we have the retracement down. Retracement down happens into discount pricing. And now we've seen the first daily fractal break happen right over here. And now what I wanted to see, if you're looking for further longs, is another daily fractal break in towards the upside. And then you would have a potential long here on your hands, back up towards the overall high, kind of like aiming for 1 to 2 risk to reward, which would be a hedge position against those EURUSD shorts. So take into account that there is potential for an AUDUSD long. Again, here on the lower time frame as well, you've liquidated some lows over here, and now we can look to further go long. And then what you just simply want to do, because again, people find it very complicated to trade this, what you have is a daily demand zone, and then inside of that daily demand zone, you just simply look for a 50-minute setup, as simple as that. So then moving on into NZDUSD. So NZDUSD has also continued its overall legs up higher. This thing is obviously bearish, right? So from a higher time frame perspective, with low or high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So now you're looking for the new lower high to be formed. Now, where do you expect ultimately where the newer lower high will be formed? Well, if we draw in a Fibonacci retracement tool, pretty much to the 0.5 fib. So the 0.5 fib is still above over here, so there's still potential for NZDUSD to continue up higher. The overall order flow internally also remains bullish, so you can see kind of like a demand chain forming here that doesn't break. So it just looks good to continue pushing up higher in towards this overall liquidity high here before at all any shorts at all. So yeah, still looking for some short-term further upside. Just to go back into your USD, let's see what it does today. I'll be monitoring this. But again, your USD is relatively consolidative and stuck within this overall box here. As we can see, it's not the cleanest of price action. But yeah, I'll update you guys in Discord on your USD, link in the description of this video. Now, going into the other dollar pairs, so USD Swiss, USD Yen, etc. USD Swiss has pushed up higher, but also relatively consolidative. This is relatively nice for a further long position, as long as the order flow remains bullish. So what I mean with the order flow is that currently demand here is in control. The fractals are bullish as well. There's still supplies on open here, so I'm looking for this simply on the short term still to continue pushing up higher. 4-hour time frame wise, we had a nice, again, we have the impulse up. Here we liquidate the bump in the road, and then here we had the demands on open. Last week I explained this in full detail, and we've been pushing up higher. So I'm looking for this still on the short term to continue pushing up higher, at least pretty much into, let's say, this supply zone up top over here. Then going into USDCAD, USDCAD has just missed out on 1.40. I'm still looking for this to head up higher as well. Currently not the best of price action, I would say. Relatively flat on this. Maybe I would like to see this or these lows here get taken out and then look for long again. That would be a higher probability long. Just take out some liquidity. That would be favorable there for USDCAD. USDCAD is extremely bullish. Daily order flow is still bullish as well. So here we have the sub for the buy, obviously. So I'm looking for further longs on this, but the ultimate or the better long, let me put it that way, that would come if we could see these lows get taken, and then we get the 4-hour change of character, and then I'll look for a long position again. And then we have USDJPY. USDJPY shot up in towards the upside, and yeah, pretty much as I explained last week, it's in a range, and we're in the bottom of the range. Now, it's actually done exactly what we wanted from the range trading perspective, where on the 4-hour time frame, we came down below this area of liquidity, and even below this liquidity low here into this demand zone. And from that demand zone, we've headed up higher all the way back up in towards TP. So some great price action there. Congratulations if you were able to capitalize on this. These are the kind of steps that you can take like this. And then towards its highs, nearly 3%. So at its peak, it did reach 3% profit. So yeah, congratulations if some of you did take this. I hope you did. I explained the setup last week. Now, obviously, you want to scale out of those long positions, and you simply want to now wait for a potential pullback trade to come into effect. But preferably that would happen once you take out the highest high over here. So I would like to see one more push up and then look for the 4-hour change of character, and then you could trade a potential pullback. And then, of course, gold's still up higher after that Japanese uncertainty from the elections. Last week, we highlighted this low here as a liquidity low. Congratulations, I said as well, or follow the order flow up higher from here. Again, it's been doing exactly that. Gold is just simply a buy, so don't sell it like an idiot. and look now for, again, liquidation to take place. So what are now the liquidity lows that I would be monitoring? Well, this low over here, so this bearish candle's low, and I would be monitoring this low over here for now. So now again, we wait for those lows to get taken, and then from those lows we could look for potential long positions once again. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Wish you all a fantastic trading day. Yeah, the only main position that I'm focusing on now is EURUSD shorts, but I do see that potential for it to maybe come back up a little bit more once it breaks the overall internal order flow. So let's see what it does. For now, I want to focus on this supply zone over here. I'll be monitoring the 15-minute time frame, maybe take out this high, and then, for example, from this supply zone, and then if you see the 15-minute change of character, you could look for shorts again. Here we took out these equal highs, very nice liquidation, and from there the order flow started. So now again, you just want to wait for liquidity to get taken before looking for any new potential short positions, but then wait for the overall order flow to confirm. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot. I'll be active inside Discord for all your questions. So yeah, link in the description of this video, and see you there.